Today's news. Today's news.
On Bourbon Street,
We're not going to be scared or terrorized. New Orleans is going to keep going.
Vegas blast investigation.
I'm comfortable calling it a suicide with the bombing that occurred immediately thereafter.
Re-electing the speaker.
He can lose just one Republican vote on the floor.
Good morning. I'm Deborah Rodriguez with the CBS World News Roundup. Tourists were back out in full force on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, just a day after a Texas man who'd pledged allegiance to a terror group rammed a truck into a crowd of people, killing 14.
The presence here of the police and their state patrol, and I think I've seen some guys from the reserves. It's pretty safe.
College football fans packed into the Superdome for yesterday's Sugar Bowl, which was delayed by a day. They observed a moment of silence before kickoff. Correspondent Omar Villafranca is in New Orleans.
The FBI now says the perpetrator of the ISIS-inspired attack on Bourbon Street likely acted alone.
This was an act of terrorism.
Shamsuddin Jabbar rented the Ford F-150 Lightning used in the attack via the Turo app in Houston, Texas. He then drove it to New Orleans on New Year's Eve. The FBI says he posted 5 videos to social media in the hours before the murders, including one claiming that he had joined ISIS prior to the summer.
Jabbar explained he originally planned to harm his family and friends, but was concerned the news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbelievers. I'm devastated, honestly. I'm sorry.
Jabbar's younger brother says Shamsuddin had recently gone through an expensive divorce. He noticed his brother becoming more outwardly religious, but said he saw nothing to suggest Jabbar was being radicalized.
He's been a Christ Muslim since he was a kid and everything. He took a step away from the religion at some point in his life, and then he came back into it.
We now know the names of 10 of the 14 victims. They range in age from 18 to 63. Correspondent Tony DeCoppel.
Zach Colgan's cousin, Matthew Tenedorio, was 25. A goofball, he remembers.
But his laugh was contagious. If he had a superpower, that would be like his secret superpower to make people laugh.
Reggie Hunter, meanwhile, was 37. A father of 2 from Baton Rouge, his youngest son just a toddler. And his cousin Sherelle Robinson Jackson says what he loved was his family.
They're still numb right now. They're hurting.
Nicole Perez was 27. She leaves behind a 4-year-old son. Nicole's mother, Martha.
She works so hard.
A public vigil is scheduled in the French Quarter tomorrow. Now to Las Vegas and the investigation into the Cybertruck explosion outside the Trump International Hotel. The FBI has determined the incident was not related to the attack in New Orleans. Officials say the driver acted alone. CBS's Adam Yamaguchi is in Colorado Springs, where Matthew Leibelsberger had been on leave from a military base in Germany.
He was a 37-year-old active duty member of the Army Special Forces. He was a Green Beret. The Army is currently exploring whether he was experiencing any personal problems at home. Authorities also expressed some degree of surprise that the explosives found in the vehicle were as crude as they were. Green Berets are specialists in guerrilla warfare, and yet his car was loaded with fireworks, camp fuel, and gas canisters.
A new Congress is scheduled to be sworn in today, and the first order of business will be electing a House Speaker. It may be an uphill battle for the incumbent, who's still trying to win over skeptics. Correspondent Scott McFarland is on Capitol Hill.
Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson of Louisiana is trying to keep the job, but he enters the vote on the U.S. House floor with a perilously small majority and an even smaller margin for error. He can lose just one Republican vote during the floor vote and still win the speakership. Democrats are unified against him, and some Republicans have yet to commit, including those who met with Johnson in his office late Thursday.
A formal farewell is about to begin for former President Jimmy Carter in his home state of Georgia. CBS's Mark Strassman has details.
Here in Plains, this moment does feel personal. Jimmy Carter lived here most of his life, and tomorrow morning a hearse carrying his body will drive to the peanut farm that was his childhood home. A farm bell will toll 39 times for the 39th president.
President Carter is our favorite son. This town is full of people that are his relatives, that are his friends. It's going to be a struggle for the whole town.
Carter will lie in repose at the Carter Center in Atlanta on Sunday and Monday. Next Tuesday and Wednesday in Washington, D.C., he'll lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda. And on Thursday will be his state funeral at the National Cathedral.
The government is penalizing JetBlue for chronic lateness. The Transportation Department says it's slapping the airline with a $2 million fine for delayed flights. It cites a prohibited, unrealistic scheduling practice that hurts passengers